Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is yours truly 50 only. And how's everybody doing? I'm going to be talking about the show Sistas by Tyler Perry. I'm going to be doing episode 14 and it is entitled Just For Me. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I really appreciate it. So let's get right into the episode. So it starts off with Danny is confronted by these two hillbilly white men, and we find out that these men are Preston's brother. So they're, basically they're saying that they flew all the way there to tell her to stay away from Preston, that, they were calling her all kinds of names, and I mean, even one of them said, who do you think you are, Tina Turner? Because you ain't. And I'm like, why? Like, why would you ask her that? Like, of all people, you're talking about Tina Turner? Like, that makes no sense. It was just funny when he said it because it was so stupid. And so what comes out is, they were saying that they made a bet with Preston that he could, sleep with a black girl. And that was pretty much the end of it. That once he slept with her, he wouldn't continue to see her. And so, of course, Danny is like, okay, really? So, she's basically going back and forth with them. And, that was the thing that I didn't understand. Like, why was Danny giving them that much attention? Like, I wouldn't even have listened to them. Like, as soon as they started all that talking, I would have, gotten security or somebody and had them escorted out. The second thing that I was wondering is, how did they know where she worked? The only people that could have told them was either Preston or Preston's sister, because both of them, they know where Danny works, and they both supposedly aren't prejudiced or racist. So, I was trying to figure out, why would they tell those brothers that clearly are racist where Danny lives, and where Danny works. And to me, I don't know, that was a little suspect. I don't know if, then I'm wondering, is the sister genuinely not racist, or is she just acting like that? So we also find out through these brothers of Preston that they have money. Apparently Preston comes from money, and they were like, you ain't getting none of our money, and it was just crazy, just the whole conversation and the things that they were saying. So they actually sounded like kids talking to her. Wait till Ma, you better hope Ma doesn't find out. It was just like, what? So then Zach comes in, and he comes through on his cart. And, he's like, what's going on? And they started calling him Tyrone, Jamal, Malik. I was like, oh my God. They were like, you better get out the way, Malik. I was like, oh my God. So Zach starts arguing back and forth with them. Then Danny's trying to, she jumps in the cart and she runs him over with the cart. When Zach came, he was still talking about his grandfather's stuff, because he's still upset about that. He's focused on that. But Danny ends up running him over with the cart. And then they like, oh, you're going to get in trouble. You're crazy. And it was like, so they walked away, or, they went away. And then Danny just tells him, look, calm down, go back to the plane, because she didn't want him to lose his job or get in trouble. So she's like, just go back to the plane. So then at the bank, Maurice, barges into Sabrina's office and tells Sabrina that she spent enough time with the new guy. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but I think that Maurice is too involved in Sabrina's, personal life. I know they're friends, because I know that she has been over his house. She goes over there sometimes. They talk outside of work. She's been to the club that he goes to, but mainly because of Calvin. So, but I feel like he's a little bit too involved in her personal life. I mean, like a little bit too much. Like he always wants to know what she's doing, who she's talking to. I mean, almost as if he talks to her almost like he's a parent. Like, oh, you've been talking to him too long. It's like, Maurice, go back out there and work. Like, leave Sabrina alone. Like, she's doing what she's doing. So I don't know how you feel about it, but that gets on my nerves. So Maurice tells Sabrina that Calvin was there, and she was like, oh, really? And so then he also tells her that he has the results of the drug test that Jacoby and Calvin both took. And it turns out that both of them are negative. So, while Sabrina's talking to Maurice, he keeps on talking like negative about Jacoby, like just saying little things. And, then she keeps saying, you like him. Then Sabrina finally admits, that like she wants somebody that is a little bit more rugged, as the word she used. And she was just saying, basically, she likes the way Jacoby looks. He does have more of an edge to him than Calvin. And, he's got the tattoos and all. So he looks really good. So then, she just keeps trying to convince Maurice that she really doesn't like Jacoby. So then back on the plane, Danny tells Zach about what happened with Preston's brother, because he was like, what's going on? And Danny finally tells him that she also was able to get Zach's grandfather's stuff, and she said they were in the Lost and Found. Danny's like, look, Zach, I need you to really tell me honestly, did you charge up Karen's credit card? And he's like, no. He was like, why? He was like, no. And he was like, she was like, well, I don't know, you driving the car, I like Danny a lot, but her relationship with Zach, I like their friendship, but sometimes I feel like, none of them really believe in Zach or have faith in Zach that he's going to do better, because she was like, you driving, I see you driving a car, and so he said, look, so he shows Danny his card, the Chain Breakers, the company he's working with, and he finally admits that he just wanted to show Karen that he could do it, and that she would be proud of him, that she could look at him and say, wow, you actually did do what you said you were going to do. And so Danny's like, so you're doing it for her? And he's like, no, I'm doing it for me, So Danny tells Zach that she is rooting for him. And, she also was telling him that she's been trying to call Preston, because at the same time, she's still worried about this whole thing with these brothers, because she wants to get to the bottom of whether or not they're telling the truth about the whole bet thing. So, she finally admits to, she also has been trying to call Preston, and, he hasn't called her back. So it goes to at the office. Fatima confronts Hayden about saying something to Zach. And, Hayden admits that he told Zach to stay away from Fatima. Fatima tells Hayden, I'm going to see whoever I want to see, And she was like, nothing is going on with Zach. She basically doesn't want anybody in her business, which I don't blame her. And she told Hayden about himself, which I'm glad, because Hayden is one of those, and I hate to say it, but we do have people like that. I mean, I'm just saying, there are people who, once they reach, and I'm going to say in the black community, once they reach a certain status, they forget where they came from, and they actually look down on people that may not have what they have. And she was telling Hayden, this is what you are. You look down on these ex-mates. And she was like, this could be you. So don't get it twisted. Like, you are no better than they are. So Andy overhears Fatima and Hayden's conversation, or at least the heatedness of the conversation, and she asks Fatima to come to her office. So Andy thought that Fatima and Hayden were seeing each other. She was like, "Is everything okay?" And then Fatima tells her about their past with Hayden. And she also tells her about how Hayden threatened the guy who we know is Zach, who, that she's seeing. And so then Andy apologizes to Fatima for being short earlier. And then, Fatima, one thing about Fatima that I like is that she always encourages Andy. She always gives Andy mad props, as a black lawyer. She's really doing her thing in the office, and she got her job back. You can say what you want to say, but Andy's a bad lawyer, and bad as in good. And what I like about Fatima is not jealous. Fatima is not a sister that's jealous of another sister. She doesn't down anybody. Like, she is ride or die friend. Ride or die. Like, she is there for Andy. And I like that. I like to see that in our community, where we uplift sisters, uplifting each other and being there for one another and holding each other down instead of tearing each other down or being in competition with each other. I always say there's room for everybody. There's room for all of us. There's a space for all of us. We don't have to feel threatened by somebody else or feel like we have to compete. So I like that Fatima is always supporting Andy in that way. So Paris knocks on the door once Fatima is finished talking to Andy. Here comes Paris. Paris comes in and to check on Andy, and he offers her to go to dinner, but she already had plans to go out with the girls or to hang out with the girls. So Paris tells Andy that he really wants to get to know her, but he wants to get to know her when she's sober, because he's like, you only call me when you've been drinking. so then he leaves, and then Fatima is in the car, and she calls Zach, and she tells him that she wants him to come over. And at first he's reluctant because he's concerned, and he's like, she's telling him she's gonna handle it and everything, and and so of course he's worried, but he reluctantly does say yes. So then the girls are all at Sabrina's house. So Danny comes over first, and she tells Sabrina about Preston's brothers and how Preston hasn't returned her calls. Then Danny says she knows Preston is not in on the bet. She believes that he has a good heart and that he wouldn't do something like that. So then Karen comes in, and she tells Sabrina about Zach charging her credit card. And then Andy comes in, and Karen tells Andy about the credit card. And Andy says it doesn't sound like Zach, which I thought was interesting, because as soon as Karen was told that Zach was the one that ran up her credit card, she believed it. Even Andy was like, that doesn't even sound like Zach. So then Danny tells the girls about Zach and how he's seeing this new girl, and he works for this place called Chain Breakers, and and Andy was confirming, no, that's legit. Like, that's a good, that's like a come up for him. So what was funny was the whole time that they were talking to Sabrina, she was over there supposedly cooking. And if you notice, she had this little pot on the top of the stove. It was so tiny. Like, it looked like the kind of pot you cook oodles, like one pack of oodles and noodles in, if you like them, or like if you're boiling water for a cup of something hot. It was so small, and they were telling her to season the food, but I was like, what is she cooking? I was like, there's nothing on the stove but that one little pot. And so then I was like, okay, Let me try to give her the benefit of the doubt and say maybe everything is in the oven. I was like, maybe she's baking everything and she doesn't really have anything on the top of the stove. So it was just so funny. So when they're talking about Zach and the fact that, Karen was saying she's going to press charges on Zach, and they were like, that could send him to jail. And Karen felt unsupported. She felt like everybody was on Zach's side, but it really wasn't an issue. I don't think they were trying to be on anybody's side. They were just trying to lay it out there for her to really understand that this is serious, Karen. This could really get him in a lot of trouble. And do you really want to go down that road? That would be really foul, to do something like that. So Karen was mad also because she said that Zach had the nerve to block her. And, and then Andy said that, so then they got on Andy. And they were like, well, tell us about what's going on with Gary. And she was like, she admitted that she didn't talk to Gary, but she said it was hard, And then they tell Andy and Karen about Preston's brothers and everything that was happening. So again, I think that whole scene was just to really show you the bond of the four girls, Danny, Sabrina, Andy, and Karen, and how they do support each other. At the end of the day, no matter what's going on in their lives, they're there for each other. They try to, support one another and whatever they're going through. And I like that. I do, however, wish that they were a little bit more supportive of Danny, because I feel like Danny gets left out of a lot of stuff, and she is the most reasonable one, the one with the most sense, at least in my head. I think so. And I think she's smart. She has a lot to offer, and they kind of dismiss her sometimes. It will make her feel like, what she has to say is not important. And I don't like that. That's the one thing about them that I really don't like. The other thing is, I think Andy is, it's like sometimes Andy comes across like almost like she may need medication. I know that sounds funny, but like there have been times when she would be talking and then she'll go in the bathroom and just like break down. Now, I don't know if they were just trying to show how she needed to release, like she had to be strong in that moment when she was dealing with whatever she was dealing with, but then when she got by herself, she like broke down and really, maybe that's what they were doing. But she just seems like she can be labile. And when I say labile means like she can be happy one minute and then the next minute she can be sad. And it's like maybe there's some issues going on there with her that maybe hopefully they'll address, because I noticed that with her. She's so stoic and like, when it comes to Gary and talking about that situation, but then it's like when she talks to the girls about their situation, she's fine, but it's hard for her to release when she's talking about Gary. So I thought that was interesting. I think, Karen is hurting. Karen really, she loves Zach. She will always love Zach. But I think she's struggling with this whole thing with, with Zach and what's going to happen with them. She loves him, but she doesn't really want him back. But I don't think she really wants anybody else with him, even though she says she don't care. I don't believe it. So then Danny is sitting in the car and she's leaving a message for Preston on the phone. She's letting him know, I've been trying to call you. I haven't been able to get you. And then she gets out of the car and she is at her door and she's trying to get her keys out, and she notices that he's sitting on the floor in front of her door. And it looks like his face, like he got into a fight. It looks like his eye is bruised or cut or something on his mouth, and that's the end of the show. So overall, this episode was pretty good. I mean, it is sort of like I'm looking interested to see what's going to happen next week because the story's moving right along. I will say I do like Fatima and Zach. I like their relationship. I like where it's going. I like how it's evolving. I also like Danny and Preston together too. I hope I'm looking forward to see what happens with them as well. Now, Gary, I think Gary has some issues, but I think Gary's a good guy. I know that's gonna sound crazy. I know people gonna think that. I know you guys think, why is she saying that? But I do think deep down there, Gary, I think he really does love Andy. I mean, because he's trying to make it right. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I don't know. I don't know yet if I'm Team Andy and Gary because the way they got together was wrong, and they were messing around. He was married, and I don't wish that on anybody. So we'll see what happens. So that's it for this episode. I'm looking forward to next week. Again, thank you guys for listening and also watching. And please like, comment, and subscribe and hit that notification bell for another video. So you guys, again, like I said, stay safe out there and have a wonderful day.